Good afternoon, everybody. This right here is Adams of the Adams Welfare Show. This Friday, me and you, we are actually back here again. And today we are gonna be speaking about commemorating the loved ones that we actually lost in the Gen Z protest back in 2024. And we are actually also going to be speaking about the changes that we have actually seen after the blood that our brothers and sisters shed on the battlefield, on war against corruption, on the war against political elites that have actually personalized growth to themselves and not actually to their countries. And guess what? We have had a lot of changes in due time since the Generation Z protest took place back in 2024. And we have positive and we have negative. And first of all, first things first, I'm gonna start by acknowledging that this is also a war that the older generations did not finish, and we, as the Gen Z of this generation, we have actually been left to fight this war. A war that our forefathers and our fathers did not actually fight and finish. And we actually shed blood at the battlefield trying to get back what was once ours, a free state, a state that honors democracy, a state that rules in peace and thrives in its unity. And we have actually settled for less after we lost 67 lives of our brothers and sisters at the battlefield trying to get back the peace, the love, the unity, democracy, and fair economical nature of the state. We have actually ended up with holes in our hearts, and we lack the aspirations of hope. We have actually ended up with broken families, broken souls, empty promises, false hopes that one day their sacrifice will not be in vain. Not only forgetting that there is actually a part of us that wants to give up, the part of us that wants to lose the hope, the part of us that wants to heal. But nobody is actually trying to put medicine in our hurts so that we actually heal. We are actually wounded as a state, as a Generation Z, but nobody is actually tending to our wounds. Instead, there is actually a particular people, political elites, some characters in the political arena that use knives to chop our wounds, and we are still in pain. Kenya youth protested against political exclusion, poverty, inequality, and unemployment. And then Kenya witnessed unprecedented nationwide protest in defiance of government proposed tax increases and also allied police brutality. It is actually true that they used social media to hold our government accountable, to raise awareness about injustices and corruption. They satirized the political elite and resisted authoritarianism due to the voices of the youth being silenced and ignored. Even in our suffering, we might stretch a hand out to a brother, to a sister, that we are actually seeking for help. But when nobody is paying attention to our cries, our voices, the government, hence the norm that the government serves the government and not the citizens. Sorry, that was just a by the way, straight right into uh in the hashtag reject the finance bill. The Generation Z has since metamorphosed to Gen Zote, referring to all generation to a mindset that Kenyans are committed to a good governance under the rule of law, inclusivity, and moral rectitude in public life, regardless of the age. This was actually a straight factor, and it was actually interesting to have Generation Z use certain factors that do not deprive others of their peace and freedom. And we are actually still on the war on self-reproducing political elites. The Kenyan Constitution affirms right to protest under the Article 37, which states that for every person has the right to peaceably and armed to assemble and demonstrate and present petitions to public authorities. This is actually by the law, and the government itself that should be protecting the law at the first apex of the Constitution is actually helping to affirm this right to its citizens. The Bill of Rights also provides a fundamental freedom, such as freedom of speech, assembly, and conscience freedom, and assembly and conscience freedom, which there cannot be a viable democracy. We actually stopped fighting for our rights just when we got independence, and nobody is actually interested, nobody is actually seeing this as a factor and important factor in the communist nature. This is actually by the law, and the law is not actually upholding it. uh First of all, the use of extensive force by the police is actually persistent in society. And why do you actually think this is persistent? Is it that the citizens, they do not hold peaceful demonstrations, and they defy the peace of others, leading the police to use firearms in retaliation against the citizens, against unarmed citizens? Unajua, like, hiyo time ya protest ilikuwa, haikuwa war against police, haikuwa war against government, ilikuwa war against personal gain, manze. Personal gain. The government is actually selfish. The same government that should protect the rights under the constitution and law is actually helping to break the law. And since only the government is above the law, citizens cannot actually help to protect it. A legal right cannot be protected by the citizens because the government, their own African, Kenyan government does not actually uphold these legal rights. Why do you think police brutality is so persistent? Over the years, uh, over three older generations have actually suffered police brutality at particular election years. The use of extensive force and firearms, as police use the excessive force to break up protests, no matter how innocuous the protesters' concerns are actually. President William Samoei Ruto, in a press conference following the storming of Parliament, defended the police and actually stating that when stating that uh, defending he stated in the defense of police that when accused of atrocities and labeled protesting youth as criminals liable for treason, the president actually took this one as a personal political attack and came to answer to a press conference in defense of the police that it was more of a personal political attack, referring to it as treason. I don't actually think that the aim of the Generation Z was actually to overthrow the government. Mi najua hiyo si kitu majenzi walikuwa wanataka kufanya. Majenzi walikuwa wanataka ease on taxes, walikuwa wanataka jobs. Majenzi wamechoka na joblessness. Gava haisupport innovation, unasikia? Gava imedinda innovation, unacheki? Kama ni youth uko innovative ni poa, but support ukuwe sure 20% chances gava itakupea support. Na there are not actually any new jobs that are actually created that is gonna serve the youthful citizens of Kenya as a source of income and a source of employment, a livelihood. And when the deputy president, the former impeached deputy president Rigathi Gachagua stated, when he actually stated at a press conference that there are actually no more jobs for our youths. Wase walimtukana, wase walimuita irresponsible, wase walimtukana, wase walimuita majina mingi sana. And it is actually true what our former deputy president actually said. There are no actually jobs. Alisema something like, we soma tu, ukimaliza shule ujue hakuna kazi. Something like that. Unacheki? Na citizens hawakuchukulia hii maneno, hawakuichukulia hii maneno bana serious. They actually thought this was actually one of the plays in the political arena. And under police brutality, anonymous individuals abducted the youth. Anonymous armed individuals were abducting bloggers, the youths that were actually prominent in the social media, using their channels and accounts to spread love to the citizens, saying to the youth that they should actually rise in demonstration against the bill of finance of 2024, actually being abducted. And these acts are actually overlooked, and we are not actually looking at the power, the names, individuals behind the perpetration of these acts of abductions. Later on, some of the abductees who managed to walk out alive were actually released by government back to their families and some families did not actually receive their loved ones who were anonymously abducted, ended up as broken families. And successive Kenyan governments have often criminalized this right to protest consistently, and getting protectors with actually targeting the protesters with the live ammunition, guns, firearms. They're actually using live ammunitions against unarmed, peaceful protestants. We are actually within our rights. We are actually within our rights by the Constitution, by the law, in respect to the law, and in honor of the Constitution. Peaceful protesters came out with banners, leaves, banners, posters, not guns and stones, as the media is actually portraying it, that with leaves and banners and posters, we are being shot at by the police. And the president is actually defending, coming in a press conference to state that he is actually defending the legal acts of the police and rendering them as necessary. Under the hashtag that the protests were inspired by cross-cutting concerns about the sorry state of the Kenyan economy and responsive politics, the on responsive politics and classist education and health sectors, and extrajudicial and enforced disappearances. This is actually like actually one of a dictator, a dictator regime, that when we try to use our rights in honor of the Constitution to demonstrate peacefully, the government in turn undermines our rights and violates our rights. And we, as liable citizens, are actually being held responsible for the outcome of 67 deaths. Families of Rex Kenyike, families of others, and other 66 more families that are across the country that suffered from police brutality. They are not actually being compensated with hurt, with words, and with courtesy. Instead, they are actually being mocked in the media. And this is not actually justice. Maybe it is true that justice has actually become blind as a bad. But if justice is blind, but it can see the crimes of the citizens, and it cannot see the crimes of the government, then justice is surely blind. That maybe it cannot see me, and you. So we are actually alone. The finance bill of 2024 was not meant to anchor government revenue collection, was actually meant to anchor government revenue collection to reduce borrowing and lending from other nations that sort Kenya into massive debt. Lakini for sure hizi madeni tunaambiwa hizi madeni zinaweza kuwa hata ni uongo. Inaweza kuwa hata tuna deni lakini sisi tunaambiwa tuko na deni. Tax zinakuwa increased, tunakatwa mshahara, lakini hatuoni change. Ido inaenda wapi? Ido inatoka kwa mkono wetu inaenda kwa gava. Ikishafika kwa gava hairudi. Hatuoni services, hatuoni changes, hatuoni differences. Life ni the same. Yani ni kama tulipata independence jana. Na independence tulipata 1963, unacheki. However, through media, social media, Kenyans of all walks of life expressed outrage at punitive taxes, and yet there is no accountability for endemic corruption and wastage of funds and facilities by government. They do not actually have accountability of their actions and those acts of corruption. And we are actually being given fake news to watch in the internet and the media. I'm actually saying this with fear of no contradiction, that whatsoever word that I share in this platform belongs to Adams of the Adams Welfare Show and not to anybody. And no action or words or statements can be used against me. This is actually freedom of speech, legal speech, and not hate speech, positive speech. Thank you so much. That was actually, by the way, cheers to everyone watching us. Maybe one day you can come over and we can have some tea together. As you can see, there are 2 seats right here for you, my friend. Sorry for that. And thank you so much for everyone that is tuned in. Stay posted. This is Adams right here of the Adams Welfare Show. Still at concluding Welfare Show episode number 8. We have actually learned the Kenyans decry high taxes amid dwindling income, joblessness, and ostentatious living by political elites. Mazee ama politicians wako na doo mbaya. Yani msee akiingia tu politics, yani msee akona doo, msee akona doo. Msee ajui hata life ya huku chini kwanza. Kwa rodi onshore mazee ni macruiser tu. Cruiser, Buddha. What about the actual average person that what about the actual average person like me and you? Mazee tunakanyaga rodi, tunapiga wax, tunalipa tax, hatuoni change. Health facilities, nini? Zile ma promises mazee ziko wapi? Nyinyi ma politician mlitu promise vitu mingi sana mkikampeni, lakini sasa hii hamdeliver. Nyinyi mmefika huko mnataka mrudishe pesa yenu ya campaign. Na sisi tunalia, tunalipa tax. Simfanye hivi basi. Kama nyinyi mnajibamba huko juu, mazee mtoe taxes, tuache kulipa tax. Nyinyi mjinai, sisi tuone venye tutajisaidia. Kwa sababu government inafaa kutusaidia mazee. Like hatuwezi ngoja United Nations itoke huko ikuje tusaidie. Hatuwezi ngoja hizi organizations, hatuwezi ngoja. Na hata sasa unajua we cannot count on justice. So unajua justice is blind as a bat. Inaona tu usiku, mchana hiyo. Tukiwawa in daylight, limelight, haioni justice, haioni. Lakini mapolisi nini, sekta ya gava nini, msee mmoja kiuawa inaonyeshwa kwa news, mpaka inakuwa celebrated, mpaka tutaonyeshwa makumbusho yake, familia yake, generation zao zote mpaka sijui babu yao, contributions zao, lakini sisi hapa hivi down tunakufa, tunakufa manzi, tunazikana buda. Gen Z tunazikana buda. 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26 years manzi, hiyo bracket manzi, wase tunakufa. Gun violence, police brutality, tuna dead, tunazikana buda, lakini huko Zundi inafanyika. After the bill went through for the first and second time, as spirited protesters stormed parliament, forcing MPs to scamper for safety. And upon realizing loss to this initiative, President William Ruto declined to assent to the bill. And the bill would have imposed a raft on taxes on Kenyans, touching on state taxes, personal income, agriculture, health, in investment, housing, in virtually every other conceivable sector of the nation. Yep. The 2024 finance bill that was not actually more of a fight for decreased taxes and calling off of the finance bill. It was actually a repudiation of Ruto, president who ascended to power with a manifesto and a platform of change while campaigning. However, once in power, once upon ascent to power, he retained a popular promise and retained exclusionary, oppressive nature and a divisive state, and protest denounced self-reproducing political elite detached from the needs and aspirations of Kenyans as a people, a black people being oppressed by a black government. Our state is now our own oppressor, not actually colonial powers, if you actually understand what I'm saying. And what change did we actually see? We actually saw the laying off of the cabinet, the call off of the bill, release of detainees, release of abductees. What difference did it make after the bloodshed? No change. Despite cries, tears, bloodshed, there was actually no change that we see. No ease on taxes. Social health authorities was enacted by the government, proposed by the parliament and the president's manifesto, and some people, some citizens actually confess that social health authority does not actually work for their benefit. And the government actually supports it and praises it of its stability. Citizens are actually paying to build houses, which they're actually not and never going to own, but it's actually going to be owned by the government. This is Adam's Welfare Show coming to conclusion. And guess what? I actually have a word of hope for the families that lost their loved ones in the Generation Z protests. Maybe you are actually alone. Maybe you know not any peace. Maybe you have actually lost your source of hope. Your children, fathers, mothers, or children in broken families. There is actually a hope if you keep watching Adam's Welfare Show. And I believe that no bloodshed on this land is gonna be in vain. Hold my hand and I will hold your hand. And together we are gonna walk through this. And we are gonna remember one day that our brothers and sisters died in the battlefield for this quest of peace, ease on taxes, good, healthy politics. And we are going to say that after all, their sacrifice was never in vain. One day we will enjoy the fruits of the sacrifice, and as time heals all wounds, sometimes we have to know that losing something good to gain something greater is actually something to believe in. Maybe we should not actually focus on the people that we lose, and we should actually focus on the people that we save. Our children, our grandchildren, younger generations. If we fight and finish this fight, our children will not live to fight for another day and will actually live to enjoy the fruits of our labor. We lost 67, but we actually saved more than 50 million Kenyans. And that is actually a hope. I love you so much. You that is broken. You that is now in a broken family because you lost your loved ones in the Generation Z protest through abductions, gun violence, police brutality. You are not alone. I am here just for you. Just so one day you can see another hope of a brighter day. Hold my hand and let us walk through this night so we can live to see another bright day. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching Adam's Welfare Show, episode number 8. And this is a voice of a people, a youth. It should not actually be undermined. See you next Friday. Always hope for the rest of us. Courtesy of YIM, Young and Innovative Minds. Thank you so much for supporting us. And you that is watching us, thank you so much. And I love you so much. And we, Welfare Show, love you so much. See you next Friday, everybody.